Chronicles TV on air. We are now live in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to another episode of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. In the previous episode, we figured out what we were supposed to do is as to get to the forensic laboratory. Today's episode right now, we had to find Iris because she knew something. She just dipped on us. If you're hot today's episode, make sure that like button. And she's not here. Make sure to hit that like button. It's going to appreciate the channel because Iris just dipped the heck in front of us. We did everything that we could, so what else is there? Our friend's gone. Back here? Everyone just decided to dip. Fresno Street room. What the heck is that? The police are still busily investigating here then. But Gina's nowhere to be seen. Where is she? Yes, it has been blissfully quiet, hasn't it? Perhaps she's out investigating on her own, practicing what her boss taught her. Well, I expect she'll be back before too long. Shall we wait? Okay, we investigate everything! Actually, there's something different about this room. Why is that broken? Since the last time we were here, isn't it? Yeah, we could always use the time to investigate more. Thoroughly. What the heck is this? This little trunk wasn't here before, was it? Oh, it appears to be made of metal. It's very heavy. I wonder to whom it belongs. There are some initials on the outside. Look. TG. Tobias Gregson. Let's ask one of the policemen if they know about how it came to be here. Oi, what do you think you're doing? Gina. That's my trunk. That is, hands off. Gina. Where were you hiding? I don't know. Yeah, leave me something unattended for a few seconds. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry got it. Really eyes on it. Dick and Harry. Just a wild guess, Gina, but... What? Spit it out, Otto. Is it fair to say that you've only owned the truck since this morning's trial? What are you trying to say? Come on, this truck gave me everywhere. Always has. Where you been the last year? Trying not to incur your wrath, mainly? Alright, explain yourself. You should hear them talking in the yard now. They should be ashamed of themselves. They are saying that is what the boss who killed all... was the boss who killed all them bludgers. You mean the whole Reaper thing? Yeah. Apparently, the boss was investigating stuff that no one else at the yard knew nothing about. Stuff to do with all them criminals got off scot-free. Yes, the ones prosecuted by Lord Van Zeeks, who used bribery and corruption to evade conviction. Well then, obviously, it was the Blue and Reaper giving the orders, weren't it? But why would the people be suspecting Inspector Gregson of being involved in the killings? There was a notebook hidden in the office. Oh no, this doesn't sound good. It had details about all the criminals that had been pegged as the Reaper's work. What? No. Did you see it, Gina? Did you see the notebook? They wouldn't flame and let me, because I'm just an apprentice apparently. But it was me who found it, and it was my boss. That's right. I was pretty miffed about it, so I sneak a peek at what it said anyway. That's our Gina. So, you managed to see what was written in Gregson's secret notebook anyway, did you? Why, I see it. It's my right to read what he wrote. And what he had written, Gina? Dates, times, places, names, a whole long list of them. All details about the bludgeon supposed to have been done by the Reaper. But there could be an explanation for that. Perhaps it was recording the inspector's investigations of the Reaper's activities. Exactly, that's what I said. That's the first thing you think, right? As it happens, it was full of names I recognize anyways. Well, the Reaper's targets were almost exclusively known as leaders of London's criminals underworld. Well, yeah, but there was one name right at the end that was a bit odd. At the end of the list, you mean? I'm pretty sure the date against it was 31st October. The day before Inspector was found dead? So what was the odd name? It weren't like a name I've seen before. It was something like, nah, it's no good. I can't remember it. I don't think it was English name, put it that way. Oh dear, what a pity. There was something else too, I don't know if it matters, but the same name kept coming over and over. Shin. It was... doesn't supposed to mean anything but... Shin. Did you say Shin? Eh? What? It does mean something? Lord Von Ziggs knew the name too. He mentioned her as well. The woman who actually did the deeds. And now we find out her name appeared in Gregson's secret notebook. We haven't seen you for a little while, have we, Gina? Well, of course not. I've been busy, ain't I? Investigating in that. The lads at the yard are trying to trace the boss' movements the day before it happened. The day before? That would be undercover investigation into the Red-Headed League then. Only the boss didn't go, did he? You found some cove that was pretending to be him, didn't you, Otto? Yep. It was Mr. Vigil who actually went to the park on Lime Street that day, posing as Gregson. Well, anyway, you ain't the only one turning stuff up. I got me own ways of getting results. When me and my partner here get together, there's nothing we can't track down. Aw, little Toby. He's such a faithful friend. So, have you tracked anything down then? What do you think, eh? Cause we have. Can't tell you though. Belie's business, ain't it? Anyway, the point is, if you lot ever need help, you know who to turn to, right? Me and the Hellhound here. Right, because he looks oh so hellish, honest. Gina, about your Hellhound there. Chief Inspector Toby, you mean? He's the pride of the force, is he? He is. In Japanese, police dog means something quite different, and not altogether nice to those involved in crime. But here in Britain, it's a wonderful compliment, it seems, for a crime canine at least. It should be. After all, in the great exhibition case the other day, it was Toby who managed to locate Drebber's workshop. Maybe it's time for another demonstration of what this super dog can do, eh? Do we have something that Chief Inspector could catch the scent of, I wonder? What do we need? What are we looking for? Oh, maybe the owner of the gun?
Take that!
Well, Chief Inspector Toby, if you wouldn't mind having a sniff on this. The Chief Inspector said woof to that, Otto. Yes, I heard. I think perhaps that particular item didn't excite him very much. And you got nothing else? I'll have a think. What do we have? I guess I got nothing, Chief. I really don't. Move, dummy! We don't have to go through this. Trace his movements? Come on, Otto, what do you got for him?
Take that!
That's the thing? The chief inspector made short work on Gina there. Oh, look what he's gone to. Oh my, that trunk clearly still has very strong scent. The Inspector Gregson. In other words, it must have belonged to him. Oh, alright, it's a fair cop, I suppose. And you nearly got away with it too? You always talk so proudly of Chief Inspector Toby's nose and what it can achieve. Did it not cross your mind that he might identify something that was right next to us? Yeah, that was a bit of a bloomer, wasn't it? That's enough now, Gina. I think it's time you told us the truth about that trunk. It weren't like that. It just weren't. What are you talking about? I know what's going through that head of yours, but that ain't what happened. Alright then, what did happen? Well, like I said before, we were trying to trace the boss's movements. So I let Toby here have a whiff of the boss overcoat, and as soon as I done that, he went off like a shot. Straight to the sandwich. To a sandwich? Not to a bag of chips? Mr. Naruto, I believe Gina means the witness. Oh, I forgot about that sandwich. Yeah, he had it between the wooden boards of the boss's trunk. You mean when they heard the sound like a gunshot and all piled in here? Exactly, and nabbed it from the scene. Goodness. Me and the chief inspector gave the sandwich a good grilling, and you know what he said? I thought it might fetch a good price, and the chap wouldn't be needing it anymore, so... that's all I did. Nothing more, nothing less. Would you Adam Eve the cheek of it? Yeah, stealing the dead boss stuff to vlog? So Miss Venus wasn't the only one to meddle with the scene of the crime, then. How could they? So anyway, that's how it happened. And it's pretty decent trunk, so I figure it might as well make use of it. Is there something wrong with that, eh? Well, maybe you and Mr. Sandwich would try to find the answer to that question together. I think perhaps that trunk should be turned over to the police, don't you? What are you on about? I am the police. Gina, if you wouldn't mind, could we maybe examine it? Yeah, alright then. Do what you want with it. Thank you. We shall make a detailed record of our examination of the evidence. Let's see what we can find. Huh? What's the matter, Toby? Why is he acting so aggressive towards me all of a sudden? Mr. Naruto, be careful! Must be the trunk. Ah! What the? Toby! Oi! What are you doing? You get your licking face off him! Mr. Naruto! Mr. Naruto! Gina, quickly! Hail a carriage! What the heck? Are we at St. Sinners? Nope. What the heck? It's 4:57 p.m. It's not p.m. right there. Mr. Naruto, are you alright? Miss Sato? Ah, conscious again at last. A blessed relief, my dear fellow. After all, to drop dead after a moderate licking by a small terrier most unseemingly. What is or isn't seemly is irrelevant, Mr. Sholmes. I'm so glad there's no lasting damage. How are you feeling? I'm fine, thank you. Did you bring me back here? Oh, what's this on my head? A bandage? Sadly, we had no ice, so that's a compress of sugar water. Sugar water? Don't worry, Mr. Naruto. It's a first aid treatment that my father taught me. Oh, thank you. So, let us take tea while you're feeling up to it. But of course, no sugar in the patient's cup. The bump on my head is throbbing sweetly enough to... Don't worry. Whenever you feel ready, then. Let me see what we got. Okay, open sesame. What the heck? Have you seen this huge gash across the side of the trunk here? It's gone right through the leather and into the metal behind. Gosh, for a metal chest like this have been so badly damaged. Whatever made the gash must have struck the side of the trunk with considerable force. I wonder how it happened. Open! Shut up. I said open! Let's have a look inside. Look, there's something inside. Oh, let's see. It appears to be a passport, authorizing him to travel overseas. Was Inspector Gregson about to go on a trip abroad then? Perhaps the date of departure might tell us something. That was... Oh, what is it? It was for the arrival... It was for travel on the 31st October, just one day before the incident. What? Really? Gregson went to France the day before his body was discovered? Yeah, oh, what the heck? Back. I think that's about it right here. Yo, let me see the passport. Tobias Gregson, passport ACDC, Y22, a departure within 1 week from the 31st October. Destination, Port Dunkirk, France. Purpose of travel, police business. Permission to the applicant and one additional person to travel. No, not that one. Thank you for your concern, Mr. Sholmes. My dear fellow, think nothing of it. I must say I was quite startled when I heard that you'd been attacked by a dog. For a moment, I feared the infamous murderer of so many had come back from the dead. You mean the professor? Fortunately, I see your prized throat is unscathed. That stiff, turned-up collar of yours obviously afforded some welcome protection. Was I that close to death? All I really remember is the dog licking my face over and over and over again. Well, if you wish to avoid such troubles in the future, a little mustard spread on the cheek should do the trick. I should think that would balance the sweetness of your bandage rather splendidly. Alrighty then. Move it. Because we already did the thing. All we did was talk to him. Let's get the heck out of here and check. Show him sweet. Is she back? What are we? Hey! Yo! What on earth is going on in here? Am I having a bad dream? Is this the hangover? Ah, no, it ain't no German folk song. I'd rather find a tradition, I think. That's the least of my concerns. Iris? She found out, didn't she? Iris, what's the matter? Who is that that relaxed gentleman over there? She found out, didn't she? Iris? Is she even listening? Excuse me, sir. I do apologize for troubling you while you're singing so merrily, but would you be so kind to explain the situation? Well, that worked. A crooning gentleman and a mute young girl. A rather tantalizing juxtaposition, and one that appears to have excited the gods of deduction. No! Here we go again. Oh, the shades of reasoning with me and me are playing now as a delightful duet. One melody sings of reunion and full of nostalgia, while as the other is a morose theme about the great secret you're trying to so desperately to conceal. Iris? She's turning as white as a sheet. So as usual, you've instantly seen the very heart of everything. And by the time my own brief performance is over, I feel sure the gentleman's song will reach its finale. So then, to music land where all is sweetness and delicacy and harmony, pray do enjoy Hemlock's latest logic and reasoning spectacular. And he's in normal clothes too? Yep. But we're not in the normal clothes stage. Personally, we consider the gentleman's nationality. Clearly, he's a German with no grasp of the English language, as evidenced by the Germanic song he sings and his apparent inability to understand when asked to desist. So why is the man here at all and in such apparently high spirits? And the answer, of course, Iris, is clearly known to you. Indeed, we need only to gaze at the bruised, bright young eyes to unravel the particular part of the mystery. The reason for the man's mildly irritating wobbling is revealed by the herbal tea. You obviously offered our German guests a cup of your latest herbal blend. The tea's delectable flavor has made the man's spirit soar, and resulted in this joyful ditty tumbling incessantly from his lip. And eagerly await sampling the flavor myself, that I may join the fellow in his state of elation. Now to the next question. Who exactly is the gentleman availing himself so thoroughly of the CD? As it happens a number of years ago now, a certain gentleman of German origin engaged my services in solving a particular delicate case. He required the retrieval of letters once sent to an acquaintance that might have proved problematic. In order to conceal his noble identity, he also arrived at my office in a mask. The gentleman's name was Wilhelm Gottschalk Sig. Did we not meet the person named by that name? Yeah, we did. It was the little boy. The King of Germany. No, it was Bermuda? No. Bohemia? I don't know. If my memory serves, the mask worn by this gentleman is identical. Yes, there can be no question. That mask belongs to the King of Germany. It would appear that His Majesty remembers this fine service I afforded him, and has decided to show his face again, mask and all, in order to express his gratitude. And well, Madam Monarch, indeed, wouldn't you agree, my dear fellow? So, the identity of the masked visitor is in fact my former client, the King of Germany. Hold it. Indeed, his son is currently in London as well, enjoying the wonders of the great exhibit. I knew it. The King of Germany. Topic 2. Girl's silence. Which leaves us with one remaining imponderable. Yes, you, young Iris. But your apparently implacable silence is unable to hide the truth. Yes, the reason for your muteness is concealed inside the knapsack. A £5 note, I believe. I must say, as your compatriot, I'm clearly saddened. It would appear that you've allowed yourself to be bribed into silence by His Royal Highness, earning yourself some spending money in exchange for keeping quiet about the king's secret. And now the final piece of the puzzle. What is the secret you strive to hide from with your silence, Iris? Ah, yes, we need only to follow the brief involuntary twitch of your eyes to find the answer. You were attempting to abscond the coffee cup. My favorite coffee cup, in fact. Or should I say, the handle of my favorite coffee cup. It appears that His High-Spirited Highness broke in the midst of his hijinks. Which led us to a sad truth. My favorite coffee cup has been broken by the King of Germany, and Iris, you tried to conceal it from me. I shall have a bill sent via governmental channels to the German royal family for its replacement. To hide the coffee cup. Thus concludes Herlock Sholmes' great deduction of this painful puzzle. Ha! We solved it. Let's get the heck out of here. Why am I hearing basketball? With your silence as well, the fellow's jovial warbling rather rings in the airs, does it not? Mr. Sholmes, I must say something does rather trouble me. Pray, Mr. Sato, do tell. His Royal Highness doesn't appear to have moved a muscle since we arrived. Ah, and you haven't said a word either, Iris. And if Mr. Sholmes has it all right, you might as well own up to it now. Your reasoning is entirely without substance, I must admit. And one other thing, Mr. Sholmes. Yet another grievance, Mr. Naruhodo, surely not. Well, I actually read the story of that case recently, the one you were just describing. And according to that, at least, it wasn't the King of Germany. It was the King of Bohemia. There you go. Goodness, was it? Yes, that's quite true. Master Gotz, the prince, testified to that in court. In his words, I have come to see the great exhibition all the way from my home in Bohemia. I would ask you to keep that minor error to yourselves. It could have easily become quite a scandal. I believe, Mr. Naruhodo, that it's our turn now to make some corrections to a number of minor errors that have been made slipped. Yes, even Mr. Sholmes is willing to admit that he might be slightly wide of the mark this time. Although it's clear that Iris is definitely hiding something. We need to find out the truth behind the mystery scene. Well, one truth is incontrovertible. My favorite coffee pot is no more. So, shall we embark again? On a joint representation of Herlock Sholmes' Logic and Reason Spectacular. Here we go. Fast forward it, please. Move it! So, blah, 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 blah. Nationality, the German. And we're all surprised. As evidence, blah, blah, Germanic smelling, he said. Blah, 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 blah. Anytime now. Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. So, what is some mix of herbs that gives you urge to sing? Goodness, I should like to try some. And I'd like to hear you singing. But this man, just how long does he intend to keep up with that tune, do you suppose? As I said, he's been stuck still the entire time, and if you look closely, his lips aren't moving either. Ah, so I'm not sure what's actually responsible for the spirit singing. But I suspect the answer lies in the end of Iris's gaze. Move! Wait, this is a gramophone, still rarely seen in our own country. The sound certainly appears to be coming from the horn, but machine singing? That can't be right. Science and technology are changing the world rapidly, Mr. Naruto. What's right is changing too. It's too much for my brain. Well, at least we found our answer.
Take that!
The reason for the man's mightily irritating rattling is revealed by the gramophone. Indeed, for no well-bred gentleman would break into an obscure folk song with making a social call. In other words, the gentleman isn't singing at all. In fact, it would appear that the fellow is unconscious. Thank you. The music seems to have stopped now. I asked you, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? Why would I have purchased a recording of that gibberish? How should I know? Well, never mind. On with the deduction. Who exactly is the gentleman availing himself so thoroughly in the seat?
As it happens, a number of years ago, blah, 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 blah. We're not gonna go over this again. We already tell you it's Bohemia. Can we do the thing already? Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. Although we've already established that it was actually the King of Bohemia, it seems Mr. Sholmes intends to persist with his Germany theory for some reason. Come to think of it, the young prince was wearing a mask too as well, wasn't he? Master Gotz, the boy whom you had in tears? Don't remind me, or anyone else. Do you suppose all members of the aristocracy of mainland Europe wear masks? I'm sure they do. Well, probably. Anyway, the point is that the mask doesn't belong to any king. No, that's right, as we well know, because we can't identify the true owner of the mask. Where is he?
Take that!
Yes, there can be no question. The mask belongs to Kazuma Asogi. In other words, my memory is sublime and unreliable. Only you could try to make that sound positive. Kazuma's mask has been languishing in the metal chest for several days. Though that doesn't explain why the gentleman is wearing it now. But it's also now a simple matter to determine our guest's true identity. After all, the gentleman is unconscious. We need to only excuse ourselves in advance, gently lift the mask and peer beneath it. I don't believe it. Father? I'm afraid, Mr. Sato, you must be No, I think not, Mr. Sholmes. And it would appear our logic and reasoning has once again revealed the truth. This mysterious visitor is my unconscious father, Eugene Mikotoba. Logic and reasoning, or just looking and saying? Eugene Mikotoba. Move it! Which leaves us with one remaining imponderable. Yes, you, young Iris. But your apparently inexplicable science is unable to hide the truth. Yes, the reason for your muteness is considered outside the knapsack. Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. So that's a 5-pound no poking out of Iris' knapsack, is it? Oh dear, I can't be sure. Most money that we're encountering is coin form. I know, I'm not sure if we have any banknotes here in Britain at all, have we? But anyway, Father would have never paid money for Iris' silence. He certainly seems the silent type himself, though, judging by his present state. There must be some of the recent Iris silence, suppose. Perhaps what Iris is trying so hard not to give away her eyes is something entirely different. Move it! Not the knapsack. Wait. Back it up. The metal chest? It contains important documents, doesn't it? Yes, details of all cases Mr. Sholmes has worked on over the years. Written up by Iris' father. If I'm remembering correctly, Iris insists the chest is kept locked at all times. She's never once shown me inside. What contents are invaluable to her, I suppose, and entirely irreplaceable. But look at it now. The catch is unlocked for once. So it is. That's hard to ignore. Very. I've never seen that chest unlocked before, and all the time we've been staying here at Baker Street.
Take that!
Yes, the reason for your muteness is concealed inside the metal chest. An excellent observation, for upon closer inspection there is something different about the chest appearances. It kept locked at all times, yet now the catch is open. Evidently, this has something to do with your refusal to speak, Iris. But it's a simple enough matter to incite you to speak, I'm sure. I merely need to open this chest. Here we go. No, Hurley, don't. Huh? What? That explains it. Mr. Sholmes? Hey, yo! Whoa! And thus concludes, he's dead. Never! Oh, Hurley, I told you not to open it. So you found your voice now, Iris. In other words, what just happened clearly reveals the truth here. Yes, the real reason for your silence until now is... There's something different, usual dance of deduction you perform with Mr. Sholmes, isn't it? Well, he's left me alone on the ballroom floor, so I'm going to have to dance this next part solo. Anyway, I need to get the bottom of this for my own peace of mind. Now then, Iris isn't usually the silent type, so... You mean you don't actually know the answer yet? Despite the knowing point of the finger before? Mr. Sato? Sometimes a man needs to point his finger first and think later. Oh, well, if you say so. I think we better examine Iris more closely and try to rescue the situation then. The real reason you're silent until now, why wouldn't Iris open that freaking thing? Yo! What's this? That's a key she's holding, look. I'm sure that wasn't in her hands before, was it? No, you're quite right. It appeared as if magic. That's strange. A big old iron key. Where did it materialize from?
Take that!
Yes, the real reason for your silence until now is the key behind your back. When Mr. Sholmes was thrown into the air before... Just before you call out to try to stop him, you slipped something out of your mouth. It was in your mouth? That something is the key now in your hands. No doubt the key to the chest. Why was it in your mouth, young lady? You're so clever, Runo. So now it becomes clear. Thanks to Mr. Sholmes' graphic demonstration, we can well imagine what happened here. But... Professor Mikotobo also opened the metal chest only to be punched into the air. And land sprawl on the seat. But wait, that doesn't explain all the facts. What about the stylish scarf? And the cup of tea? And above all, why would he be wearing Cosmo's mask? Well, for those curious details, I can think of only one explanation. Clearly an unbelievable miracle took place in this room. Isn't that right, Iris? Consider how the room was arranged before this whole painful experience took place. When Professor Mikotobo opened the chest and completely unaware of what awaited him inside, the mask was flung into the air just as he was only landed too neatly on the face when he fell back down. The teacup's journey through the air ended up when it caught in the unconscious professor's finger. You mean to say that stylish scarf is actually just a tablecloth? This is the great detective's office after all, a place of miraculous deductions. Would you expect anything less? Yes, you're right. It happened exactly as you said. Brilliant, Runo! Thus concludes Ryunosuke Naruhodo's great deduction of this punchy puzzle. Nice. So then, why don't I make a fresh pot of tea for us all? For all of us all.
Objection!
An admirable performance, Mr. Naruhodo! But in the final act of the show there, you rather miss everything of importance. Mr. Sholmes? If you would cast your mind back to me early deduction. Iris, clearly you're hiding a great secret. She is? From the look on her face. Mr. Sholmes must be right. Whatever the great secret is, the cat isn't out of the bag yet. So I put it to you again. You were attempting to abscond the coffee cup. It really is a shame about Mr. Sholmes' cup. It must have been smashed when Professor Mikotobo opened the chest. Oh dear, so many things seem to have been broken here. But now the deduction has taken a different direction. Iris doesn't seem to be trying to hide the broken cup anymore. In other words, her great secret is something else. Let's put our observation skills to work here on one final time then. This. Not the knapsack, genius. I'm really not sure why you're so intent on showing that Iris's bag to be complicated in advance. Because it's the size of a bag. Big enough to carry things around, Mr. Naruhodo. That's what bags are for. So, the knapsack might ever have seen the limelight, you mean? I really wouldn't like to say. That's not what I meant. It's the thing that's like right there. Oh my gosh, so the piece of paper is just nothing. Great. What was... If it's not the coffee cup... What, you were attempting to escond that with the coffee cup. What is the secret trying to hide? Oh, what the? Hold up, hold up, hold up. I see it. Oh, look. There seem to be more papers there. Is Iris trying to hide them underneath the tray?
The insignia, Mr. Naruhodo. It's Scotland Yard document. What? But why would Iris have it? We must ask her. An official Scotland Yard document.
Take that!
You were attempting to abscond with the case file. Iris, as you know very well, nothing escapes the attention of the great detective. Oh no.
Get to the point, Chief!
We visited Scotland Yard's autopsy laboratory earlier today. And Dr. Gorey informed us that the autopsy report of Clint Von Zeeks had gone missing. Clint Von Zeeks? Yes, I do seem to recall. That some years ago I asked to see the report in question. You were with me, weren't you, Iris?
Yo,
You mean it was you, Iris? So those papers you have there are... I'm sorry. Forgive me. To hide the case file. That's elementary, my dear. In truth, I would like to have a thought I could have predicted the booby trap chess. But it caught me completely off guard. I was never very nearly the late consulting detective Herlock Sholmes. I'm sorry, Hurley. So you mean this autopsy report really is... Yes, I took it from the lab, even though I knew it was very important. Was there something in it that troubled you, Iris? Not exactly something that troubled me. Something I've been looking for when I saw the report, when I saw the writing in it. I knew it was Daddy's.
the writing?
Your father's writing? What do you really mean?
Iris? It must be something that's hard for her to talk about.
Forgive me for interrupting, my dear fellows. Mr. Sholmes, what is it? I feel as though our poor unconscious gentleman of the seed has been somewhat forgotten. Ah, Father! Perhaps we should find our guest somewhere more peaceful to rest. Mr. Naruhodo? Yes? Would you be so kind to let him in your bed? We must do our best to make him comfortable, I feel. Oh, yes, of course. I'll help you carry him. So will I. No, I can manage alone, thank you. You have tea to enjoy. We wouldn't want Iris to brew to stew. Because there's no better way to make the professor comfortable than dragging him upstairs like a trunk. I wonder, perhaps that was deliberate. Maybe Mr. Sholmes is making himself scarce to give Iris a chance to talk more freely. We must use this opportunity to talk with Iris.
find out what's going on. Would you like to tell us about it, Iris? About your father? I'm sure I told you before, didn't I? That Daddy used to be Hurley's partner? Yeah, and that notes about all the cases they solved together are kept inside the metal chest. That's right, Hurley told me, you see? He said that Daddy's somewhere far away now, so we can't meet. That's one way of describing it. Then, when I simply unlocked the chest and read through the papers inside, I started to build up a picture in my head of what Daddy must be look like. Well, that's only natural. You're just like any other girl of your age. I read that Daddy was a professor of medical science, so I studied and took my degree too. Well, that's only natural, I suppose. In that respect, you're not quite like any other girl of your age, though. But there was one thing I could never find out. Daddy's name. His name wasn't anywhere on any of the notes that he made about his work with Hurley. But then one day, that's what happened, is it? When you saw the autopsy report, you finally managed to work it out? Is that right? Yeah. So it was the handwriting in the report that caught her eye. When I saw the writing on that report, I could hardly believe it. I know that handwriting, I thought to myself, because it was the same as the writing you've seen on your father's case notes. Exactly. I was desperate to compare the two properly. I needed to see them side by side. I asked the doctor in the laboratory, but I was told I couldn't take the report away. And even worse, I was told that that was the first and last time we'd be allowed even to look at there. So he decided to steal it. When I compared the autopsy report with the case notes I had here, there was no doubt. The handwriting was exactly the same. It was Daddy's. And the signature of the coroner at the bottom of the autopsy report? Read Dr. J. H. Wilson. That's how I finally found out. I learned Daddy's name at last. I see. Ever since then, I've called myself Iris Wilson. And that's also when I had the brilliant idea of writing stories all about Daddy's exciting times with Hurley. I decided there and then I'd write The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Oh, Iris, I had no idea the stories had quite such a deep personal significance for you. I could see why the autopsy report was so important to her now. And why she was prepared to break the law to get her hands on it. I must apologize, Iris. This is really all my fault. Hurley, I made a promise, you see, that until the time was right, I'd keep the detail about your father a secret. I know, I've been very naughty. I'll take the autopsy report back to Dr. Gory and apologize, I promise. Yes, we'll go together, I think. Then, let me look after it until we get there. I must go and water my herbs, I think. I'll see you all later. Poor Iris. She must be feeling awful. I know Mr. Schultz is here for her, but still. Ah! What the heck is the noise outside? What? How? What's the meaning of this, Mr. Sholmes? Mr. Sholmes? Oh, dear me. So, you've noticed, I see. But that would mean... What on earth's the matter, Mrs. Otto? You've turned white as the sheet. It's this autopsy report, Mr. Naruhodo. The one from 10 years ago. The writing isn't Dr. Wilson's at all. Huh? What do you mean? How could you possibly know that? Because I know it's writing very well. This writing it's my father's. What? What? Professor Mikotoba's? Indeed, it's true, and now you know. My dear fellows? No, I don't know anything. What on earth does this all mean, Mr. Sholmes? Because the idea that's slowly forming in my mind is just too extraordinary to believe. Please, you have to explain. Who's the father? So, this autopsy report was actually penned by Professor Mikotoba then? But that makes no sense. It's not possible, surely. Not possible, my dear fellow. Pray take a deep breath and think again. Yes, you're right. In some ways, it actually makes a great deal of sense. It does? 10 years ago is when Father returned to Japan after his extended study tour in Britain. And prior to his return, where was Dr. Mikotoba engaged? Of course. He was assistant in Dr. Wilson's laboratory, learning about forensic science. As assistant, he would have aided with the dissection work, making detailed notes, which would be assembled into the full autopsy report. Once the work was complete, the head coroner would check the contents and put his signature on the document. In other words, the only writing of Dr. Wilson in the report would be his signature at the end. I see. So Iris got the wrong end of the stick, you mean? She saw that and assumed the whole report had been written by Dr. J. H. Wilson. Which is very understandable, of course. What a complicated situation. Huh? But if she assumed by the handwriting, then wouldn't you say... Oh, I don't want to know anymore. Thinking about it, most of what we know about you, Mr. Sholmes, comes from the published stories of your exploits. Yes, The Adventures of Herlock Sholmes, written by Iris. And we really have no way of knowing what's fact and what's fiction. Most troubling for you, my dear fellow, I'm sure. So what about this supposed partner of yours? Did he really exist or not? Ah, you've come straight to the point, I see. Please come straight to the answer. I believe Iris explained it on one of her installments. He was a trusted comrade and the only person I could truly have called a friend. And did this partner of yours truly make a record of all your cases? Are his notes really stored inside that metal chest? Absolutely, my dear madam. Absolutely. So, where's your partner now? We rarely meet. You see, he lives on the other side of the world. But if this autopsy report and the records of all your old cases were penned by the same hand, and if the autopsy report was written, though not signed, by your famous partner, there would be only one logical conclusion. Pray, impress me. Your partner would have to be Eugene Mikotoba. In other words, Mrs. Sato's father. And that makes Iris... Pawn my word, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? You're coming along wonderfully. You have hit upon the method at last. You finally grasped the art of deduction. You mean to say... Allow me to introduce you to my great friend and partner, Mikotoba. Professor Mikotoba? I'm done with you. Does this mean that Iris is your sister? No, my dear. I'm still my old self, Eugene Mikotoba, your father. Oh, of course. This is obviously too much for Susato-san to take in. I must say, though, how my old friend has attained worldwide celebrity as a great mystery solver is the greatest mystery of all. I still remember the first time we met. Ah, pray remind me, when was it again, Mikotoba? 16 years ago, Sholmes. Ah, yes, quite 16 years ago. I just arrived from Japan with Seishisho engagement, and I was in search of the lodgings close to the hospital, some comfortable rooms and a reasonable price. But rents are devilishly high in the particular area. That's right, so I decided I needed someone to share lodging and the expense, and was fortunate enough to be introduced to Sholmes, who found himself in a similar situation. I was a callow fellow back then, a mere shadow of the great detective you see before you now. I was working at the hospital's chemical laboratory at the time, indulging my curiosities for a little gain. And the situation of cohabitation led to us pursuing cases together, you see. Hard to believe. It was a mere 6 years. We had a great many adventures. And in the last year of Mikatoba's stay in Britain, that most infamous case presented itself. A case which you rather familiar yourself, the professor killings. After the trial, Sisho and I were summoned back home. Hardly surprising, given the circumstances. So there you have it. As you know, all that the details recorded by my trusty chronicler remain in the metal chest. This is amazing. Professor Mikotoba really is Mr. Sholmes' famous partner. Father. Goodness, my dear, what a cutting look. As your daughter, I'm very proud to learn that you were the great detective's great partner. But nevertheless, there's another mystery that I really must ask you to explain now. And that is? You know very well what it is. The unresolved matter of Iris's father. Ah, of course, I almost forgot about that one. I should have seen this coming, I suppose. Sister? Iris told us that all the notes about great detective adventures that are in the metal chest were written by her father. Isn't that correct, Mr. Sholmes? That is indeed what I told young Iris. But if you're Mr. Sholmes' partner, father, and you wrote all those case notes, then Iris's father must be you. Pardon my word, Mr. Sato. You are coming along wonderfully as well. You too have hit upon the method at last. You finally grasped the art of deduction. What you've always told me, father, is that my mother died when I was born 16 years ago. And you've left me in grandmother's care while as you embarked on your study tour of Britain. And I've always accepted that. But all this about Iris. Oh, there it is. Susato's ice-cold stare. Oh, now hold a minute. It was very complicated. I mean, it's really not what you think. Then perhaps you'd like to explain what it is. There it is. Now the eyes go from ice cold to red hot. Just before she... No, really, you really got the wrong end of the stick. Sholmes, say something, man. She's adopted? That's quite enough, my fiery fellows. Mr. Sholmes, when did he get all dressed up? Well, I don't like to interrupt this exciting exploration of the past. Mikotoba and I have an urgent matter that requires a short excursion. But it's very late, Mr. Sholmes. Where must you go? Why, my dear madam, is that not obvious? My partner and I must pursue our natural enemies. So, get your coat, Mikotoba. The game is afoot. What, Sholmes? I really must give Sato a full explanation, I think. Later, my dear fellows, later. On carriage, I'll wait downstairs already. You haven't changed one iota, have you? I mean, really, I visit our home after 10 long years, and went over the chest and the fit nostalgia, I quite explicitly passed out. And as if it was enough, when I eventually regained consciousness, I plunged straight into all this. Father, please. Go with Mr. Sholmes now. What? I have no doubt that whatever happened, you were acting in everyone's best interest. I trust you, completely. You have a sister! Susato. And sending the great detective and his great partner off on renewed adventures together is more than I could hope for in my wildest dreams. Very well then. We'll speak again later. So, I believe your work is done for today? I wish you the best of luck for tomorrow. Yes, Naruhodo. Good luck in battle. And in reaching for a decision. A decision? About whether to go back to Japan, I suppose?
So much happened that day that I barely knew what to do with myself. It would only be later that I'd come to realize how amidst the chaos I'd unleashed were all the clues I needed to finally unearth the truth. And that all the turmoil was necessary to give me the resolve to see everything through.
Wait, we're ending it just like that? We're ending it just like that? Yo, we're moving on just like that.
Alright. Like, comment, subscribe. Chronicles XTV, and I'm signing out.